Hi, welcome back to Zach of All Trades. I'm Zach, and tonight's video is going to be all about getting a little bit further down the road with just the things that you have on hand. Let me make a small disclaimer. If you're here for a quick get-to-the-point video, you probably ought to just go ahead and click on through it, and I wouldn't fault you for doing so. I understand that. I often come and look for a get-to-the-point video. This is not going to be that video. If you're okay with learning a little bit about me, how I tick, how my mindset works, and maybe a little bit of where that came from, stick around. I think you'll enjoy it. Yesterday, right towards the beginning of my 17-mile commute home from work, the clutch cable on my motorcycle broke. Yes, the same clutch cable that I replaced 3 months ago. Right up here at the lever, this little piece right here broke. It's supposed to look much more like that, with a little head on it, so that it can hold on to this little end ferrule thing. However, just as I was coming off of a stop sign, that little head broke right off of there. As I sat on the roadside, just about to call my good buddy Joe to come rescue me, I was somehow reminded of a conversation that I had had with my new pal Blake. Blake and I were talking about making do with what you've got, and he told me a story of a fella who was driving across some barren part of Australia. It's a little redundant. This guy's driving across this barren part of Australia, and right smack in the middle of nowhere, the universal joint comes apart on his truck. And so he starts walking toward the last house that he saw miles and miles away. And he doesn't get very far, but what he sees, an inner tube on the side of the road. He picks up the inner tube, he goes back to his truck, uses the inner tube to hold his universal joint together, and continues driving his truck to his destination. With that in mind, I set to work scratching my head for just a little while longer to see if I could come up with something before calling in the cavalry. Here's what I came up with. I disconnected the clutch cable from its home down here on the bottom side, and I pulled on the end of it, which caused the top end to retract all the way to what's left of the ferrule. I then reattached just the end to the business end down here on the clutch arm, which allowed me to actuate the clutch by pulling on the whole cable itself. It would be a lie if I told you that riding all the way home hunkered over like this, because I can't let go of this cable since the end is going to fall out as soon as I do. I'd be lying if I told you that that was a comfortable ride home. However, I was able to actuate the clutch and make it all the way home, just to order another new clutch cable. Which brings us forward to tonight. Tonight is Wednesday. I was unprepared to pay twice what the item cost in order to ship it and have it here by tomorrow, so it'll very likely be here Friday. Hopefully Friday. Here's the next wrinkle in the story, and the one that puts me in the garage tonight. On Friday afternoon, one of my best friends in the whole world is going to be riding his motorcycle 5 hours with another partner of his out to the area where I live to visit some family and friends, have a nice long motorcycle ride, and he wants to go for a ride with me. My parts might be here Thursday. They might be here Friday. They might not be here by then. So I'm going to see what I can do about fixing this thing in case my parts don't show up. The bad news is, when this thing came apart, it lost its little head. Not only did it lose its little head, but the little cylinder part that goes in there that this thing goes into was also lost in the fray. So I don't have one of these. The good part is that caused me to look for something that would fit that. And here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think that'll work. And just like that, works as advertised. It's a little bit loose in the hole, just a little bit. I'm going to make sure to put some grease in there of some sort this time, but I think the fact that it's a little bit loose is not going to be a problem, since it's always going to have tension on it. It's always going to be pulling against this surface like it would anyway. It's not like it's going to be jiggling around in there. Now, somebody invariably is going to say that by only using this part of the ferrule, if we're going to call it that, to grip onto, that I'm at high risk of pulling this whole thing off. I tend to disagree with that. Really, most of the gripping, I think, I may be wrong, but I think that most of the gripping of this thing is actually in this barrel part of it, and the head, the head is just the head of it. Obviously, there's some grip in the head of it, but not very much. So I don't really think that I lost very much by hooking it on to just this. And there we are. Now with it all hooked up in the back, good to go. Now, I'm not going to say that this thing is going to last forever. Of course, it is compromised to some extent. It probably, I don't know how much time I would get out of it. Compared to the brand new one that I put on there and got 3 months out of, my fix, I don't know, my fix might actually top that. My plan is to just use this for the next couple of days until my brand new one comes in. In fact, I don't even know. I might not drive it tomorrow. I might just use it on Friday and wait for my new one to come in. But my point being, yeah, this is a motorcycle, and it's one of my 2 modes of transportation. If it was my only mode of transportation and I had to wait 3 days for the new part to come in, what are you going to do? Are you going to not go to work? Are you going to, if it's a piece of farm equipment, you do what you got to do, which is where I attribute a lot of my, how should we say, problem-solving skills or shade tree mechanicking, or whatever you want to call it, to the fact that I grew up on a ranch, and we were a pretty good ways from town. It was an hour and some change drive to get to the parts store, so it wasn't always an option to just run down to the corner store and pick up whatever replacement parts you needed, and stuff had to be done. So I don't know what the point of that is, but if you watch many of these videos, especially if you're still watching at this point, I appreciate that. I'd give you a thumbs up if I could. The point being that permeates through so much of what I do, the tape measure, just making things and doing things for yourself. There's so much value in that. So if you've watched it all the way to this point, kudos to you. I really appreciate that. Thanks again. We'll see you real soon. Take care.